Don't be trapped in someone else's dream.
Welcome back to Elevate with Liana and Marisha, the space where we explore what it means to feel well, think deep, live wide. If you've ever wondered whether you're meant for more than one path, today's guest is going to expand something in you. Curtis S. Chin has built a life that moves across continents, sectors, and stories, from the private sector to the public sector to global philanthropy, and now into what he calls a portfolio life.
And what we also love about Curtis is the optimism that he carries across cultures and countries, and the way he uses his voice to spread possibility wherever he goes. You'll feel that energy the moment he starts speaking.
Curtis, welcome to Elevate. We're so happy you're here.
Oh, what a delight it is to be with you all.
Oh, it's such a privilege. You've lived so many chapters, Curtis, from White House intern, senior PR strategist, working with one of the legends in the PR world. You have been the American ambassador to the Asian Development Bank, and now you are the Milken Institute's inaugural Asia Fellow. Wow, Curtis. So I guess the first question is, from everything you've done, what are you most proud of?
First I was saying, if only it were thought out, all of those things leading to another. But the reality I think for each of us, our goals, our ambitions change. And for me, when I think about all those different things that you mentioned, I'm really proud in a way that in each of those, that I'm able to have a little bit of an impact on others. That, I found my own way forward, which is still evolving. But how cool it is when someone says to me, oh, I want to do something like that. How do I do that? How do we, in a way, elevate others? I think, we talk about elevating others, but sometimes our elevating others is for ourselves. Like sometimes when we donate money, when we help someone, you also feel good. And so are you giving just because you want to feel good? That's okay. But how wonderful that you're also helping others while you're doing that. So just that I have helped others find their own way forward, how cool is that?
Oh, that's super cool, Curtis, and we love it. And as we were preparing for this episode with you, you introduced us to the concept of the portfolio life. That was a total new concept to me. So, and I wonder, it might be for many others on this call and on this that will be listening in. So please explain.
For me too.
Well, for me, that phrase I came up with, but I'm sure others use it too, is this notion that if you can, over time, think of your life also as a portfolio, meaning that it's not like our grandfathers' careers where you join one company and you work for them for 40 years. That's terrific. But that world has evolved away to like almost it disappeared, that world. So how blessed you are to be with a company or organization that you love for 40, 50 years. But for me, my life hasn't been like that. And so now, as you noted, I began way back when I think I was 17 because I thought, wow, he's old. You described all those things. So I'm kind of old. And I was indeed a White House intern for Ronald Reagan. One thing I took from him when I came to him one day and said, oh, I had this opportunity to join President Bush. Because remember when I was at the White House was Reagan. So the vice president was George H.W. Bush. And he said, go for it. That maybe you'll come back, you'll be even more valuable to us. And so I took from that notion that don't feel, even if you have the chance to stay at one company for a long time, maybe your path is one of going away and maybe not coming back. And so from Harold Burson, I thought he'd try and convince me to stay. Maybe I get more money. No, he's like, go for it. You're still young. Go for it. And so I jumped from the private sector, Burson Marsteller, to work then as a special assistant to the Secretary of Commerce under then President George H.W. Bush. Lost my job when he lost the election to President Clinton. Went back to my old firm and then had the opportunity to go back when his son became president. And then I was so blessed to work under our chairman, Michael Milken, at this global think tank called the Milken Institute, which I think is just like you all, that institute wants to elevate people, make connections. You might have all the money in the world, but do something even more meaningful with it. And one way to do something more meaningful with it is to help people enjoy more meaningful lives, build prosperity, of course, but build, a better future for yourself and others. So if you think about it, what is the portfolio life now? For me, it combines all of those elements. And it's not just one thing that I do, but it's a portfolio of things built around the Milken Institute. And that's my way forward, but it's not for everyone. Sometimes when I talk to people, they're like, who did you learn from? I have all these great mentors, but I think, we can learn from people sometimes that we don't even know. How are they pursuing their lives? And one quote that I love is from a singer named Kim Tae-hyung. People might know him if they know BTS, and who doesn't know BTS? But he also goes by the letter V. But Kim Tae-hyung says, don't be trapped in someone else's dream. Beautiful. And I often quote that, probably driving people crazy when I quote it. But that's that notion. You have your own dreams. It's not just your parents' dream, your spouse's dream. You have your own dream, and don't feel that the dream you need to pursue is someone else's. Hopefully it all aligns. Their dream is your dream. And so for me, that path I've led is not for everyone, right? But it's been right so far for me. So I say to you and all your viewers, don't be trapped in someone else's dream, and also recognize that your own dream will evolve and change over time. That is okay.
Oh, beautiful.
Curtis, you are masterful at explaining this and inspiring and oh my gosh, thank you. Really, the way you frame that portfolio concept really inspires us. I think I can speak for Liana as well. The image that comes to me is that life is actually not a ladder, but a landscape. So for someone listening right now who feels stuck in one identity or one career path or one job title, what's your suggestion for the one mindset shift that could help them open the door to their own version of their portfolio life?
For me, ultimately, maybe you get a sense of even our 10 minutes together. I am ultimately an optimist, for good or for bad. Maybe the world is falling apart around me. I don't know, that's pretty bad, but I'll still feel good about something. And so I think almost the answer is in your question. I feel sometimes it's about a mindset. And it's very difficult to change one's mindset if I think, things are bad. But that is my hope, that people think also about a mindset. And it's not to say accept everything that's happening to you, because you still got to work for change. But for me, it's a little bit about attitude sometimes too. We're all shaped by our upbringing and family and friends. Because it's hard to say, well, how do I think differently? That's how I think. Recognizable. But that's where I also say to people sometimes, celebrate and appreciate the little things. I studied economics, I studied finance, I even worked as a stint as a journalist. And everyone loves those big macro stories, the changes, the big things taking place in this world. Understandable. But I say sometimes I love the micro story, the story of the little bit of impact, that little bit of change, and we build from there. So appreciate the little things. So again, it's, maybe naive. It's like seeing the wonderful in everything. But there's some pretty cool things even happening right now amidst this terrible divided world that we find ourselves into often.
I totally relate, and we totally relate to that. That's why Marisha and I actually decided to create this platform, because when we're in each other's company, we've got so much to celebrate, and we always find reasons to be happy or to see the positive side or to see the challenge as something that's forging us. And I'm going, I'm sure there's other people out there. Let's go find them. Let's bring this light into the world, to bring that positivity. Because as you said beautifully, it's not that we're naive and we don't know what's going around. It's just that we're holding that light in a different way, and we're grateful for whatever we have, and we're amplifying that. So it's beautiful. And I loved when you
I feel both of you are also a shining example of use whatever your platform is. It could be a platform that you create from nothing. Yes. This amazing podcast. It could be your daily job. It could be your daily walk. But use that platform in a way that hopefully brings a smile to someone, or helps someone learn or think differently about something. That's what I'm trying to do even in my own portfolio life with the Milken Institute. I think way back when, which was maybe like 12 years ago, I became, as was noted in the intro, the first Asia Fellow at the Asian operations of this big global think tank. But we just made up that title because, and so it's almost like I'm a brand ambassador for the Milken Institute in Asia with this notion of can we connect pools of capital, pools of wealth with amazing ideas for a new business, for philanthropy, for cure for cancer, whatever it is. I think I'm stealing this from Michael Milken or Rich Tizio, one of our great leadership team, was this notion that you might have a great idea, but without access to capital, sometimes it just stays an idea. How do I scale it up? How do I test it if I've got no money to try it out? So for me, I thought, well, yeah, it's not like I got so much money, but we have the power to bring people together. We have the power to convene. So can we bring together individuals or institutions with capital, with people that have ideas or have already an example of something great, but they don't have the way to expand it. And if nothing else, I can help out, at least like you two amazingly are doing, bringing visibility to some of these thoughts and individuals and efforts. And so for me, I've tried to use these last, 10, 12 years at the Milken Institute to use this wonderful power to convene, to focus on issues of importance to the US and Asia, to the Asian American community, to countries in Asia trying to develop. Now the big question is always, why aren't we like Korea? Because Korea is seen now as its great source of creativity and innovation, K-pop, K-beauty, K-drama. And so likewise, I want to leverage that working with great friends, including some that Marisha knows at UNICEF. Shout out to Jim Kanugi. But these people working at institutions, can we link up with them to bring attention to some of the things they're focused on? So I was so blessed. UNICEF, we work with, there's a terrific singer named Shiwan Chia, part of a group called Super Junior, the Goodwill Ambassador for UNICEF, East Asia and Pacific. So what can I do? I can use that Milken Institute platform to bring them in and create a panel. And so we did one on investing in children, and where we had a philanthropist from Vietnam, a beauty blogger. We had an amazing Goodwill ambassador, Liza Soberano, from Save the Children Philippines, saying to this community, invest in children. What does that mean? It means, should we allocate more money, whether it's for child nutrition or to make sure children live a great upbringing, because they are our future. And so it's not like I had the money like one of my speakers, Hannah, in Vietnam to donate $1 million to UNICEF, but I can certainly bring attention to great organizations and great causes. And that's where it's a long answer, but to your question, so each of us can do that, no matter what our platform is. And that's where I also think you two are such great examples of how social media can be a force for good, a platform for good.
Thank you, Curtis. Let's look at how you did this, though, because along the way of your amazing journey, Curtis, there surely were challenges, right? And so tell us what was your biggest challenge and how did you push through those challenging moments? What helped you keep moving along the way?
Well, I mean, again, it goes back to that earlier question, and I answered about mindset. I think, like everyone, I'm like, oh, I wish it were like this. I wish I could do that. But I think I learned over life to not to cling to how I think things should be. I still want to work to try and achieve this or that, but I don't say little things because they are big things. Like, you didn't get that job, you didn't get that promotion, but recognize that maybe sometimes those can be sources of strength. So again, my journey continues to evolve. I feel very blessed. But clearly things could go up, things could go down, but hopefully, ultimately, they go forward.
Oh, beautiful. What I love about this is you're enhancing two different things. One in particularly is the mindset. It all comes back to us. So as we're living this life and as we progress, we are, as I always like to say, the co-creators of our reality. So it's how we act and how we react to situations that actually defines who we are and how we're going to live and we're influencing our kind of world. And of course, those around us. So it's beautiful to bring it back to us and to see how can we show up with gratitude, and to see how we can refine our skills even when we focus on challenges. What is it teaching me? How can I move on from this? What can I do better? And maybe I just need to learn how to surrender, or maybe I just need to learn to be less in control. So there's so much deep depth in what you're sharing, Curtis. It's just beautiful. There's so many other topics that we would like to touch with you. You have mentioned, for example, while we were having this conversation and preparing for it, about your work there at the Milken Institute, and how it's increasingly connected to the creative economy. So film, using platforms for good. Tell us more about that. What would you like the next generation to understand about that?
For many years, I think about 4, I sat on the board of directors of an institution called the Asian Development Bank. And so the people sometimes know the World Bank. It's kind of like an Asian headquartered World Bank that's owned by countries and basically lends to countries for big infrastructure projects. How does it lift Asia out of poverty? And so a lot of their focus is on like hard infrastructure, roads, water systems. But then you look at nations that have gone richer, like a Japan, like a Korea. And earlier I talked about people who are like, well, how can we be the next Korea? Because Korea is that shining example, which made me think on some things too, about the power of the creative economy. And so that is saying to individuals, saying to companies, saying to nations, your path forward doesn't just have to be, we're going to be the next factory of the world, that because our labor is cheaper, we're going to create jobs, we're going to create growth through our factories. That clearly is a way to develop. And it's been a good one for so many places, from the US, from the UK, from China. But I'm saying it doesn't always have to be a sequence. Can you not at the same time develop your creative economy and create jobs by producing film, music, TV, whatever, that takes the power of the ideas, not just the power of our hands to build things. And I will say to people to recognize, though, it's not just luck. Korea isn't where it is just because of luck. There's always some luck in everything, but it's also about putting in place a rule of law to protect the in a way, the intellectual property rights is the lingo, the IPR, so that if I produce a great film or TV show or music, it just won't be stolen away and I make no money from my creativity. So Korea has put in place rule of law. Korea has, for the most part, ended censorship. So it's allowed ideas to flourish. So for me, that's part of what I hope to do with my different sessions at the Milken Institute. Focus people on what they can do also in terms of creating jobs and economic growth through the power of creativity and innovation in our minds. But to encourage that, to incentivize that, you have to protect it, whether it's a patent, it's a copyright, it's a legal system that protects people if they're going to say, okay, I'm going to spend my time on some amazing show, invention, versus, okay, I'm going to build that even cheaper than that other country. Well, and that's how I'll make money. Both are a way to go forward. And so for me, that's something that I have really seen and experienced at my time, to where I've seen this growth.
Listen, I love that, Curtis. We are living most of our lives these days in Asia, right? Both you and I, and Liana out in Australia. So we're from this part of the world that's so dynamic, so creative, and to be profiling that and encouraging that. And I love that quote of yours, that sentence of yours, the building an economy or even your life with the power of your ideas versus the power of your hands. Oh, that's such gold.
Both, of course, are wonderful. And I think for all of us, we need to think through, how do we make these connections? Your strength in this area, my strength, someone else's strength. Again, how do we bring it together to elevate a topic that I want someone to pay attention to elevate an individual or an organization? I think about this whole creative economy thing. I think, how did I even end up here? One way back when, I support a bunch of groups in New York in the cultural space. I was on then Secretary of State Colin Powell's. It was like a State Department committee on cultural diplomacy, which got me involved in these groups. And then it slowly morphed into my life now at the Milken Institute. And so when I got to the Milken Institute, I kept thinking through, how do we link these worlds that I'm so interested in. And I had an idea that the Milken Institute does these huge convenings, a major one in Los Angeles called our Global Conference, second largest is in Singapore called our Asia Summit. And I wanted to do a panel on inequality in Asia. One of these mantras I created was this notion that some people say, oh, how do I become like a BRIC nation? Brazil, Russia, India, China, these huge nations driving growth. And it made me think through it. And I worry less about that big BRIC, Brazil, Russia, India, and China. I worry about what I call the little BRIC, which is bureaucracy, regulation, inequality, and corruption, which are holding countries from growing into really all that they can and should be. And then I focus a little bit more even on inequality. And so I said, let's talk about inequality in Asia. My colleagues were like, yeah, we have so many amazing supporters and sponsors from investment banking, wealthy philanthropists. We can get them to speak. I said, I have a different idea. I just read a series of books written by a now friend of mine named Kevin Kwan. And some of you will know his first book, Crazy Rich Asian, which became a blockbuster movie, but hadn't yet been just released then. And I said, no, I want to go on stage and talk to Kevin. And it actually happened in LA. So I did this first session on what is real, what's not real in this book, Crazy Rich Asians. And then many of you maybe have seen the film. What is just a story, what draws from reality. And that was that first spark that made me think of the power of connecting, in this case, an author with an important issue that I want people to pay attention to, inequality. And that followed up with a session at Milken at the Asia Summit that year with Michelle Yeoh, the amazing Michelle Yeoh, but also with the producer of that film, John Panatti, and two amazing local actresses, Amy Chen, Janice Kwa, who thought through, again, how do they use their platforms for good? And so as we think through it, how do we, even like this, how do we use all of our platforms to get across some of these messages? But all of that was a really, really long answer, led me to think of this notion of the power of the creative economy, not just, of course, to create jobs and drive growth, but to use the power of creators to get people thinking about these critical issues that whether you're at the Milken Institute or somewhere, you want to think through how to come up with some solutions to these enduring challenges of our times.
No, it's just it's a joy to listen to you, Curtis. And again, it's about the connection, and it's about the community. It's about doing it together. It's bringing our forces together for being that force of good in the world. And Marisha and I are totally aligned with that. And what we also love about your journey is that it seems like you haven't slowed down, and like it feels like it broadens instead of slowing down. And so in this chapter of your life, where you're right now, what excites you most, and what are you most curious about?
What excites me most? I was going to say tomorrow, because I don't even know what I do tomorrow. But
Such a great answer.
It's so funny. On the sidelines of our Asia Summit in Singapore, I met this gentleman who works with Blue Origin. Is that the Jeff Bezos at Amazon, with someone I know but not really well, named Amanda Nguyen, a Vietnamese American woman who amazingly took a terrible tragedy. She talks about this. She was raped while she was a student at Harvard, but she had wanted to be an astronaut. But she took that terrible experience and made it almost I don't say her life because she's young, a passion project, which led to a UN vote, a U.S. congressional vote that makes like rape a war crime. And so that she took something terrible and built on it to help others. And the story arc, then moved forward where she got to go into space on Blue Origin. And it's that notion that, this is not going to hold her back either. Changed her, and she's helping change other people. She's changed law and policies. And I know bureaucracy. And so getting something through our U.S. system or the UN system to achieve something that is typically so difficult. So in this case, so amazing that she achieved it. And it made me think through, wow, whatever your dream is, and in her case, I want to be an astronaut. don't let things block you. And so she got to go into space. And so maybe it was like, maybe I want to go into space too. So who knows what will come? But for me, it's just, life, unfolds in so many ways, good and bad, right? But how cool it is that when you can achieve some of these things that you long dreamt of. I remember way back when, I think in LA at Milken Institute, Jane Goodall spoke. She just recently passed away. Amazing person. And so she was on stage at Milken Institute with the guy who I think helps fund some of her programs. And he asked her, what is your next great adventure, right? And it was really intriguing, particularly now that she's passed away. She says, my next great adventure is death. But she said that, she's a Christian, so maybe there's amazing things to come. But that's the unknown, that is what is to come. But she did add, and this was years ago, but I'm not going anywhere quite yet. I got all things more to accomplish here on this great earth of ours. Yeah. So whether you're towards the end of your life or beginning of your life, there's still great adventures ahead, all over the place, right? I don't know. Maybe for me, my next great adventure will be lunch. Because as Marisha knows, why I love Asia too, is the food. There's always something great to discover. Celebrate the little things, that wonderful meal, that meal with friends. But there's adventure to be found everywhere. And again, it's actually the guru I was referencing earlier on. May I actually say his name? I don't know. His name's Sadhguru. And Sadhguru is the one that indeed said, whether it's a bird tweeting or a snowflake falling, there's a miracle happening all around us. We just need to know how to see it.
Curtis, it's just yummy candy to listen to you. We could do this all day, right, Liana?
Yes.
We could, but we better end, or no one's gonna listen. But no, how wonderful for me to be with you all. I can't wait for when we're all together in person.
Yes. And so at this point in the episode, Curtis, we love to change the tempo a little. Not that we need to do this with you, but it's rapid fire questions time. Okay. Answer with one word or one sentence. Okay. A ritual that grounds you.
Is my morning walk.
Beautiful. Love it. A word that defines portfolio life. One word.
Oh, portfolio life? Diversity.
Your favorite book, Curtis?
Favorite book? Do I have a favorite book? I can't even, probably people want me to say the Bible, but no. What I'm reading right now, actually, I'm reading an autobiography of Connie Chung. I don't know if it's a favorite book, but I love learning about other people's paths too. So probably a biography. I don't know, but I don't have a favorite book at the moment.
Beautiful. A leader you admire and why?
My instant came to mind was the Dalai Lama. Is that too political? But through ups and downs, wow, good for him. Yeah.
Beautiful.
The most underrated skill in a global world?
I don't know. I want to say compassion, right? Because people think, that's not so important, but I think it's so important. Compassion.
And now Curtis Chin's superpower.
Talking. I know. Let me redefine it. Storytelling. And I think that's the power each of us has to shape whatever you've done in your life, but to think through the story that you want to tell. Storytelling.
That's very powerful. And then, Curtis, our Elevate mantra is feel well, think deep, live wide. What does living wide mean to you, Curtis Chin?
Wonder. I love the wonder of our world. And sometimes it's not so wonderful. But again, I just keep hearing this bird tweeting. I thought, how cool is that? But wonder. I love that word. I don't know. Is that a question? What is your favorite word? Maybe it's wonder.
Beautiful. Curtis, what a joy to share time with you. Thank you so much for reminding us that a life well lived is like a constellation, that it's less about mastering just one thing, but it's more about the courage to keep evolving and building those bridges between the different worlds. And above all, by using whichever platform, big, small, still to come for good, which elevates everyone.
Curtis, what to say? This moment with you has been so special. You've certainly shown us that when we give ourselves permission to be many things, our life becomes larger, more generous, and more alive than any single path could ever offer. Thank you. Thank you for your wisdom, your stories, and in sharing the way you see the world, Curtis. Thank you.
Thank you.
And to you, dear ones listening, you can find Curtis's work and follow him on the social media platforms through the links that we'll be adding to this video. And if this conversation has inspired you, make sure to subscribe to Elevate with Liana and Marisha on our YouTube and Spotify channels, and share your thoughts with us, and feel free to share this episode forward to others. So let's expand and elevate together so that we can all together feel well, think deep, and live wide.
Like, who is that person you're describing? Is that me? But so delighted to be with you.